Hello and welcome to the Lincolnshire Buzzcast, a podcast where we take a real-life humorous look at life in Lincolnshire, as well as interview some amazing people who are doing some fantastic things in the county. I'm Lizzie.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Hannah.
Hello, how are we all today?
Absolutely fantastic, Elizabeth. How are you?
Muddling through. It's Red Nose Day tonight at the time of record, so looking forward to going knee-deep in some comedy, I hope.
Oh, yeah, some good binge watching, just some feel-good TV shenanigans.
Absolutely. How about you, Danny?
Yeah, I feel like that. I need that in abundance, really. I feel like I need loads of that. Whatever you guys watch that's good, let me know. That's what I need.
There's loads of new stuff out, isn't there? Loads of new... I mean, I know we're not supposed to plug stuff, but there's that much new stuff out that I suppose we can give a broad horizon of what's...
Yeah, I don't think it really matters in terms of plugging. We can recommend as much as we like, just as long as we let the listeners know we're not being paid for our recommendations. They're just genuine ones.
Well, speak for yourselves. I am.
We are massive Marvel fans in between us, so obviously one of the things that we're really excited to watch is the new release today of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I have watched and Hannah's only watched half of.
Yeah, because I've got to do with this, so come on, let's hurry up and go.
However, WandaVision, if anyone's not watched that, that was epic.
Yes, yeah, you've got to get past the first 3 episodes, because my mum and dad started watching it and they were like, no, it were horrible, it were useless, and I'm like, no, get past the first 3 episodes and then it really picks up and it all comes together and you know what you're doing. So anybody who has watched them first 3 episodes go, no, I'm not watching this, it's boring. It's actually really, really good after the first 3 episodes and it all ties together and it all makes sense.
Have you guys, I know you're big Marvel fans, are you also DC fans?
Yes. Also, Batman, Michael Keaton as Batman is the greatest superhero ever.
I beg to differ, but okay.
Agree to disagree.
Well, so the reason why I brought it up, because obviously the Snyder cut of the Justice League film comes, he's out. I'm watching it tomorrow evening. Apparently it's like 4 hours long though, so a bit like The Irishman when that came out on Netflix. I'm not watching it in one go because I ain't got the...
No.
You can watch it in one go. You just need a decent amount of snacks.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, Lizzie. You need snacks. You need a duvet cocoon.
That's the kind of film that you need to do some serious prep for. You can't just go into that like willy-nilly. But look what's on. I'll just put it on. No. You need to prep for this. So you need some popcorn. You need a good mix of sweet and savoury, because if you just have popcorn, it gets too far, doesn't it?
Yeah,
he's even got his own. Yeah, you've got popcorn.
Always got popcorn in the house.
You need savoury though, because otherwise it gets too much after that.
Wait, I need to know what popcorn person are you? Are you a salted, a sweet, or a mix?
Mix, sweet and salted. Sweet and salted all day long. But if you had to push me for one of them, I'd say salted, I think. But then you guys know that I'm not always I don't always have loads of sweet stuff. I'm more of a savoury. If I went to Greg's and you offered me a sausage roll or a cupcake, I'd choose a sausage roll all day long.
All day long. Because you're vegan, yeah.
A vegan sausage roll.
Greg's is vegan. I'm not vegan, but Greg's vegan sausage rolls are decent. They are very, very good, to be fair.
Oh, do you want a Scotch egg, Danny?
Yeah,
how about a Scotch egg?
To be fair, I'm not vegan, but there isn't a vegetarian sausage roll. So you know, if you're going to be a vegetarian and have a sausage roll, you've got to eat the vegan one, which is actually surprisingly nice.
Oh, they're good. They are good. Yeah, and the vegan steak bakes.
Why is
promoting all this kind of stuff? Other sausage rolls are available.
I have a question. Why is it called? I'm not being funny, but to me, a steak is a slab of meat, and a sausage is a meat. I don't know, what do you call it? A meat in a case?
Okay, I'm gonna feel this one because I've been a vegetarian for longer than Danny, and I've had this question for forever.
Yeah. Why is it called a steak bake, and why is it called a sausage roll, and you just slap vegan in front of it?
I'll tell you right now, it's because it's the shape of it. It's not the actual meat product, because it's pork. So vegetarians want to fit in the world too. We have our veggie sausages in a sausage because we want to be able to fit it into a sausage bun. We have our burger shaped like a burger because we want to be able to fit it in a burger bun. We still want to be able to fit in with the world and have the accompaniments that go with it. So just because we don't want to eat the animal doesn't mean we don't want to.
But why is it called a steak? Because a steak is a steak. It's not.
Yeah, but it's a slab of it's still beef. It's still cow. Like the steak is the shape of it.
Okay.
It's also for that familiarisation, isn't it? So, like, if you're making a transition from one to another, it's the same. Guess what I made the other day? Right, I've never made. I think I've told you. Let me show you this cookbook.
Well, the viewers aren't going to be able to see this, or the listeners aren't going to be able to see this.
We can describe it. You'll have to give a good audio description of this.
So this cookbook, right, is amazing. And
Speedy Bosh.
Hey, be careful, all right? This is not that kind of podcast, so...
So is it from Speedy Bosh? What I'm getting for it is it's basically going to be like lob it in the pan, cook it, bosh, it's done. Is that the vibe?
It's supposed to be quick and easy, but it ain't always easy. It ain't always easy. So the other day I made goulash with dumplings, and it was, to be fair, it was delightful. I've never made dumplings before in my life. I thought they were going to be really hard. They're so easy, aren't they?
Dumplings, really? I don't think I've ever made them. I'm not really got on board with it because dumplings tend to have
they're not good for you.
It. Well, they've got suet in it usually.
So this was vegan. So these were made out of flour, oil, oat milk, a bit of coriander, I think, or something like that, chopped up, and then something else. I can't remember what the other thing was. Baking powder, and they were just literally mix them up. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're good to go. And then you put them in you put them in the goulash, and then let it cook for a little bit. I had some when I brought it into work the other day. To have for
you didn't offer me it. You knew that I have European heritage, and you didn't offer me any goulash.
It might have had yellow in it.
Where's goulash from? Where's goulash from?
Goulash is like Hungarian. Well, it depends which one you have. If you have like a German goulash or a Hungarian goulash, they have slightly different ingredients in them. So, I'm a bit disappointed that I wasn't offered some of this goulash.
I didn't even know that.
Was you about to say you had Hungarian heritage?
I don't have Hungarian heritage. I have Swiss heritage. But we still eat the same. That's why I was saying European heritage.
Oh, we all have European heritage.
Oh, shut up. You know what I mean. Stop being picky, Daniel.
Not anymore, we don't.
That
subject is definitely bad. Podcast moving swiftly on.
Yeah, but anyway, goulash.
You did say it had... You did say it had oat milk in it, which I guess is something we've spoken about before, but not on the podcast. Oat milk is something that I was surprised actually is actually nice, which is a bit of a shock because it's something I would like to drink more of, but the only reason I don't drink more of it is because my husband is lactose intolerant but doesn't like oat milk, so he has something that's called lactose-free milk, which is essentially milk but they've taken the lactose out of. The kids like regular milk. And so if I then were to move to oat milk, which ethically is much nicer for my morals and I actually quite liked, that would involve me having to buy 3 different kinds of milk. And I don't think anyone's either got the time, the fridge space, or the dollar for that kind of milk.
I buy different milks. Yeah, I buy a lot of different milk. Like, I like oat milk. My partner likes normal milk, and my one of my dogs is lactose intolerant, the other one isn't, so they have soy milk. Can you believe I'm saying this on a podcast? Yes, so I buy 3 different. I love oat milk because it makes the best porridge ever, so you definitely need to invest in it.
It does, it so does, yeah. Well, the best milk I've ever had, Lizzie, because I've tried a lot over the past year, is this Nordic one from, I think it's from Sainsbury's, probably stocked elsewhere.
Nordic one from Norway.
Obviously, but there's 3 different types of it, and honestly, it's so tasty, so tasty. Get Johnny to have a bash on that. Get him to have a speedy bash on it.
Maybe I'll do the blind milk challenge. Ooh, which
or just making it for a whole month, not knowing, and then just be like, you telling me you don't like it. I nearly swore then.
I don't know. I guess he just likes his milk to taste like milk, but milk is bad for him. He does not agree with him at all. So that's why he likes the lactose-free milk, because it tastes exactly like milk. It just doesn't have the lactose. If we lived
closer together, we could pair up on our milk sharing, because obviously Dexter is lactose intolerant, so I have to buy the lacto-free or soy-based and stuff like that. We could share milks. Johnny and
Johnny
Dexter
could share with the dog.
With Dexter.
One morning, wake up and Johnny's just drinking out of a dog bowl.
let's get one thing straight. We all know that Dexter does not like to be referred to as a dog.
That is true. Your dog is people.
And we all know that Johnny. We all know that Johnny doesn't like to be referred to as a human. So
yes,
that works really well.
Wait, what were it that she called him last time? My husband's children's dog or something like that. What did you say about him?
No, I was listing a list of 3 and you all decided that was one person.
I
can't remember this conversation. Anyway, did you know everybody used to have milkmen back in the day?
They still exist.
Yeah, they do.
We still have a milkman that does a milk round in this general area.
You can get oat milkman.
Oat milkman?
Yeah.
Wow. It don't have a
That's not Yorkshire, by the way. Oat milk. That's like actual.
I'll drink out.
I'll have oat.
Just oat milk. Just oat milk. You know, it can be goat milk, pig milk, cow milk. Just oat milk. I bet there's some really confused Yorkshire people going, oat milk? Is that like milk from anywhere?
Anything milk. Oat milk. Oat. Just oat.
Just oat milk.
Okay, so before we get our guest on, I have an email shout out and a correction to do because I've been informed that I've been incorrect. Must be the only time in my life because I'm usually always correct, obviously.
Yeah.
But my friend Jeff, who is in the Navy and lives way down south in Brighton way, has informed me that back in podcast 2, 3, can't remember when it was, that I spoke about poutine, and described it as a chips, cheese and gravy meal, is incorrect. It is chips, cheese sauce and gravy. And anyone that I have offended with my lack of knowledge on poutine, I do apologise. Jeff is a well-travelled man, and he was one of the first of many to correct me on my poutine error. So sorry for that. And shout out to Jeff. Hello.
Yeah. Awesome, thanks, Jeff. It's great to put her in a place every now and then.
Oh, you guys don't watch Soccer Saturday, but the host of it is called Jeff, and every time they report back to him, they always go, "Cheers, Jeff." And I really thought, Hannah, you were going to go, "Cheers, Jeff."
Cheers, Jeff. No, in my head, I had. You remember Chris Kamara? I don't know, Jeff.
Yeah, no, so that's it. Yeah, so that's it. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, Jeff Stellage.
Has it?
Well, Jeff is used to have been a bit famous as well, actually, because he's done, what's his name? This is very terrible because I can't remember his name, but he's a famous comedian, Joe Lycett, and he was doing something on Instagram recently that was he was doing like quizzes and stuff with random people. So he'd do a quiz and people would enter and he'd just bring them into his live Instagram feed. And my friend Jeff got pulled into that live Instagram feed and made an absolute idiot of himself because he couldn't his headphones wouldn't work. So there's just Joe Lycett going, Jeff, you can't hear me. Jeff. And Joe's going around going, I'm just looking for some more headphones. He's going, Jeff. So he's like, claim to fame was being absolutely getting rinsed recently by Joe Lycett. So that's brilliant. So shout out to Jeff.
Well, while we're on shout outs, could I just wanted to give a shout out to my sister. I know the rest of the podcast is going to be about mental health and mental health awareness and stuff like that. My sister's been through a really tough time over the last couple of years, and she loves listening to our podcast, even though she's back home in Yorkshire. She loves listening to our podcast because she says that it sounds like having your mates round in your kitchen and just having a laugh, and she really enjoys it, and it's really got her through lockdown and stuff like that, and just feeling like she's part of something. So massive shout out to her for doing so well over the last couple of years and being a fantastic mum, grandma and sister and daughter, and also it's her birthday coming up, so happy birthday. I won't say how old she is, she's always going to be 21.
Happy birthday. Hannah's sister, did you say her name?
Tracy, sorry, it's Tracy. I don't think I did. No, it's Tracy.
Shout out to the anonymous sister.
She knows who she is. She knows she's my sister. She can't get away from this.
Happy
birthday, Tracy.
Maybe the whole point of the shout out was she wanted her name to be spoken.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just frustrated thinking, come on, say my name.
yeah, okay.
About how good I've done. Just tell me my name.
Okay, let's just get some sort. Can we get some sort of audio, Lizzie, that just has like Tracy like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jeff got a lot of wax over in his name, didn't he? We really went fast on the Jeff, so I feel like Tracy should Tracy.
Yeah, her middle name's Jane, by the way, and our Nana calls her Janie, so I'm just going to throw that in there as well, just because he's funny. Janie, you all right, Janie?
Cheers, Jane.
It's interesting, really, how you spoke about where she listens to us, because obviously we sit and chat to each other all the time, just regularly forgetting that actually we're recording a podcast a lot of the time. But it's really weird, I think, listening to how people actually listen to us, or where they listen to us, I guess, because people have told us they're out on a run or out on a walk, listening to us. Other people doing their housework. I listen to my podcast while I'm in the bath, but I hope no one listens to this while I'm in the bath. I don't know how I feel about that.
You've just put it out there, Lizzie. You've just put it out there. Is
anyone in the bath right now?
It's your dulcet tones, Lizzie. That's what it is.
Well, as long as they're not listening to us while they're going to sleep. Yeah. That'd be what I'm saying.
But maybe they're listening to us because it improves their mental health. Over to you, Lizzie.
Yes, thanks for that, Hannah. We have Ollie from Andy's Man Club. It was a great interview with him. We at Lincoln City Foundation have just started working with Andy's Man Club on our Team Talk project. Team Talk is a really exciting project that we've been trying to bring to the forefront for ages for people of Lincolnshire, for men of Lincolnshire, hoping to do our bit to help support the men of Lincolnshire with their mental health. So Andy's Man Club is going to run a club from the LNER Stadium every Monday from 7 till 9. And then on top of that, we've got lots of other things going on too. A football kickabout session for anyone who wants to join with that, and some other stuff in the irons and the fire too. So do make sure that you're following us on social media, because we've got a lot more to announce in terms of support for the men of Lincolnshire, including some nice collaborations with Lincolnshire Cricket. But we get into that with our interview with Ollie. So without further ado, here's Ollie. Welcome to the latest episode of the Lincolnshire Buzzcast. We have with us today Ollie Vixay from Andy's Man Club, the project development champion. Welcome to the podcast, Ollie.
Thanks, Lizi.
So we wanted to chat with Ollie today because Lincoln City Foundation have joined together with Andy's Man Club in our latest Team Talk project to offer some support for the men of Lincolnshire. So first things first, Ollie, tell me a little bit about Andy's Man Club and why you set it up.
So Andy's Man Club started in 2016. Andy Roberts took his own life. His brother-in-law, Luke, decided to set up the charity. Well, initially it was going to be a coffee group for men, so that lads could go somewhere and get things off the chest and talk about any problems or dark feelings that they were having in a secure and non-judgmental environment. And it's rapidly grown, spread across the UK over the last 4 years, to the point where we'll be opening our 42nd club this coming Monday.
Wow.
How exciting. And what prompted you to get involved?
I've actually been involved since the very first session. I attended that session because I was, that one man who needed some support. And from there, I ended up running our flagship group in Halifax for about 3.5 years. And then I took full-time employment with Andy's Man Club last year.
That's an amazing story. It is very much a peer-to-peer support group, isn't it? So I guess that's what's allowed you to sort of flourish in that environment. What would you say is the difference really between peer-to-peer and a more organisational-led group?
With peer-to-peer support groups, we as Andy's Man Club try to keep it as raw and as simple as possible. We don't have any counsellors, we don't have any professionals in the room. It is just lads coming together to talk with like-minded individuals, other guys who might be going through a rough time or want to help other guys, and listen to each other and have a laugh and get stuff off the chest. It's very informal. There is a structure in place to guide the session, but like I said, there's no sort of checklists or clipboards or anything like that. Everybody's there for the same reason. When you walk through the door of Andy's Man Club, everybody's sort of equal on the same level. Yes, there are facilitators that run the group, but they're also there to use the group as well.
Fantastic. And it is mainly really run by volunteers as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We've got a core of staff here in Halifax who oversee everything. Our headquarters here in Halifax. But at the moment, we've got about 300 volunteers nationwide that run our 42 groups.
That's incredible.
Wow.
It is.
I'm a bit speechless. Like, I'm sort of like blown away by it all and just sat here going, wow.
Yeah,
I'm actually like really into that. Like, it's such an incredible thing from such an incredible sort of story and background, I suppose, that we don't think of, and it's good that we've got Andy's Man Club that's bringing it to the forefront, because I think if you go back in time and you look at men's mental health and you look at men in general, they're always portrayed as very manly men, and you're breaking down these barriers or these personas. And sort of, what do you think is the main thing that comes out of this for, well, even for yourself, because you've been through it, for someone who comes to join your group, what is it that they get out of it?
I'd say the first thing that guys notice or realise when they come to Andy's Man Club is they're not on their own going through these problems. You know, depression, anxiety, they can be really lonely places, and one of the symptoms is that you feel like you're on your own, that nobody else is going through it, it's happening just to you. So, for example, here in Halifax, before we went into lockdown, we had 60 lads attending on a weekly basis. And for a new guy to walk into that room with 60 lads there already, who were all there for the same reason, it instantly lets them know that there are other people going through this storm. There are other people battling their demons, and it makes it a lot more acceptable to have those sort of feelings then, when you realise that it's not just you, there's nothing wrong with you, it's just being a human being.
Yeah. I think in recent times as well, we've lost the pub scene, haven't we? Where men would traditionally go sit in the pub, but with the flourishing of supermarkets and cheaper sort of products and things like that you've lost that, and it tends to be that, I think personally, has caused quite a lot of sort of exclusion or isolation, because you don't have the good old-fashioned go down the pub, vent to your mates and get it off your chest. And I think it's amazing that you've almost brought that back in such a fantastic environment. Like, so where did these ideas come from? Where did the ideas come from to go, do you know what, we just want to get everybody together and that's how it's going to work?
It was a work in progress, really. When we initially started at Andy's Man Club, we thought that we were going to have to get lads to play football or go out for walks together, or, you know, play basketball, just to build those relationships to feel secure enough to talk to each other and open up. But what we found on that very first night was that if you provide the platform and let lads know that that's why they go in there, and they show up with the intention of talking and getting stuff off the chest, that's all you need. It just needs to be that simple. Give them the platform to open up and talk about the feelings, like saying a confidential, safe environment. I think the fact that it's only for men as well, it's male only, is a massive factor in getting guys to open up and talk, because, you know, when you're in the pub, the lads are trying to impress a girl or whatever it might be, or it might be that the problem stemmed from a failed breakdown or relationship with the mum or whatever it might be, but lads for some reason don't want to open up around women. So the fact that it's male only means that lads can just be lads. They can just be themselves. They don't have to try and impress anybody. There's no sort of preconceptions about what they need to do when they get there. They can just be themselves with other lads who are there willing to listen. Obviously, we've encountered problems over the years, as any organisation does, but we've learned and we've adapted and we've changed our model to reflect that. Initially, when we started, we didn't have any questions. It was just a free-for-all in the conversation. You know, you'd just go around the circle and anybody would talk about anything that they wanted to. We realised quite quickly that we needed to structure that conversation to make sure that lads were coming through, they felt comfortable with talking, they had the opportunity to get things off the chest, and they left feeling positive about the meeting and have had a chance to reflect on what they've said. So we've put some questions in place to structure the flow of the meeting, and it's sort of the facilitator's job to make sure that they stick to those questions and that the group flows as it should do.
Would you say that there's been a greater need as a result of lockdown now, or is it pretty much the same?
It's hard to quantify. I mean, in terms of the scale of growth that we've seen, absolutely. There's definitely more people getting in touch with us wanting to open an Andy's Man Club in their area, or asking how they can join our online sessions and things like that. But in terms of numbers, we've still not got back to where we were at this time last year. Obviously, lockdown hit us hard like it did everybody else. March last year, we went into lockdown. We had to run everything online. Took a couple of weeks to set up. And whilst we were still trying to figure it out, we only had that open to existing members, so there were no new guys coming through the door. When we reopened in September, people were obviously still concerned about meeting face-to-face and things like that. We've still got the online platform going now, but we've still not quite got back to the same numbers that we were this time last year. Obviously, when we come out of lockdown in the next couple of months, we're expecting a massive spike in the demand, and people feel comfortable coming out of the homes to do these sorts of things. A lot of people don't know that we're actually meeting face-to-face at the moment. We push it on social media all the time. Any sort of news articles that we're doing, we'll let everybody know that we're open face-to-face, but people seem to think that because we're in lockdown, the sessions are just online or whatever, but we are here. We're here and doing it in the flesh.
Do you see the meetings going on online like indefinitely from this period onwards? Do you see that as a potential way of? I guess the preference will be to do it face to face, and people are perhaps more likely to open up face to face. But do you see that online platform continuing forever, or do you see it coming to a stop, Ollie?
That's amazing. I know you sort of said a little bit about what happens at the sessions and stuff, but I can imagine that actually getting the courage to maybe go and attend and walk through the door for someone who's feeling low might be quite the barrier, especially if they maybe think that they're going to walk through the door and it's going to be a case where they're going to have to sit and be forced to speak, or be forced to say about what there is, or be cancelled in any shape or form. What is the vibe like in an Andy's Man Club?
Obviously, this will be the 5th year, won't it? Now, Ollie, I'm curious to sort of hear where you would see it, or where you would want to see it in the next 5 years, so in 10 years' time overall?
I want an Andy's Man Club within a half an hour drive of everywhere in the UK. So the physical groups are accessible to every man in the UK. I think in 5 years we can even start looking overseas and see what we can do in other parts of the world as well.
Fantastic.
Wow, that's great. Cool. So, obviously, I imagine there's people that walk through the door with a variety of different things that have brought them there. Do you have a referral process or something for anyone who's maybe come through that you might see needs a bit more support that you might be able to give them?
Absolutely. We are very aware that we're a volunteer-led, non-professional service, and we do get lads coming through the doors that are not in a very good place at all. And we would build a network wherever we open a group, build a network of what other services are available in the area. So if somebody does need some additional support, whether it's support with gambling, addiction, finances, anything, we know who to point them to in that sort of area, and our facilitators do as well.
I think that's really key, knowing like sticking to that core element that you said, that it's there's no hierarchy. You go into the room, it's peer to peer. I think that sounds like it's really key. Being a guy myself, I don't think I would like being. I don't know. I study psychology at university, but I don't know whether I would necessarily like to work with a psychologist personally, which sounds, I suppose, counterproductive for me, doing what I do. But I just think for me personally, I just don't know whether or not it would be great for me personally. But then I suppose that's a barrier, and I suppose that's a barrier familiar to lots of people. And if you really, really need the help, then working outside of your realms of competency isn't such a good thing. So knowing when to refer them on to somebody who has that expertise is obviously really key, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And it goes both ways as well, because there aren't any other services that operate on a national scale like we do that connect with people on a grassroots level and bring people together on a grassroots level to talk about their issues. So where we refer people to GPs or crisis team or Gambling Anonymous or whoever it might be, they also refer them back into Andy's Man Club as well for the support that they receive there, because it goes beyond a Monday night. It's not just a 7 till 9 session on a Monday. The lads walking through the door to that session, they're walking through the door to a wider community. Obviously, when you've got lads in a room together and they're sharing things that they've never shared with anybody else, they form quite deep bonds. And those lads then go away. If they've got mutual interest, they set up other groups outside of Andy's Man Club. So we've got, just off the top of my head, guys that meet up on a Sunday and do a mountain biking group. We've got five-a-side football groups, rugby groups, walking groups, running groups, even just guys that meet up and go for a coffee once a week. But it's so much more than just a support group. Like I said, it's a community. And once you walk through the doors on a Monday night, you can access not just the local community, but the national Andy's Man Club community as well. All of our groups run exactly the same across the entire country. Like I said, we've got 42 groups, and somebody who was, a lorry driver based down in Gosport, they could attend that group on a regular basis, but they might be on the road and they might have to stay over in Sheffield. They could go to the Sheffield group and meet those guys, and they'd know exactly what they were letting themselves into for, because all the groups run exactly the same way. And I think that's one of the key elements of building this network of different clubs, is that they're all in sync with each other, so that somebody who is out and about or on the road can just nip into any one of them that they need to.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I can see that you're a really impact-driven cause anyway. I mean, it's important to create that amazing impact. So I guess my question to you is, and take your time to answer if you need to, but what is your proudest moment that you've had since actually starting along the journey with Andy's Man Club?
I've got two. The first one is, it goes back to 2016 actually, not long after we first started Andy's Man Club, but me and a group of guys and girls actually walked from Halifax to London to raise awareness. We did it over the space of just 4 days. And And the feeling when I got there, it were absolutely unbelievable. I mean, my feet still haven't recovered 4 years later. But the atmosphere of the walk, the camaraderie that were built, and the reception that we got when we got there as well. There were a crowd of people waiting for us. And at that point, I think we'd only been running, 4 or 5 months. And it were absolutely amazing to see the impact we were having, even in those early days. The second one was the bus tour that we went on in what year is it now? 2021, 2019 it was. But you've got to write off last year, haven't you? It was a complete.
Yeah, it's a blip.
We were supposed to be repeating the bus tour last year, but unfortunately, obviously, we couldn't do that. So we've got it planned in for later this year. But the idea was we had two buses that set off here in Halifax. All stickered up with the Andy's Man Club logos and stuff like that. One went south and visited all the clubs on the southern side of Halifax, and one went north and visited all the clubs right up to the top of Scotland. And we invited facilitators from all the different groups to come along on this bus tour with us. And we stopped off in every single town and city where we've got a club, spoke to the people there, spoke to the friends and families of the guys that have been attending the clubs. And I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, actually. It was just so powerful seeing the reach that Andy's Man Club had, the amount of lives that we'd affected, the amount of people that were coming up to us and thanking us that because their brother, their husband, their dad was still there. It was absolutely fantastic. It really was. It was, for me, at that point in my Andy's Man Club journey, I had been quite insular. I'd been running the Halifax group. I'd known about the other things that were going on. I'd met the other facilitators at training events and things like that. But I wasn't massively involved in the day-to-day running of things and speaking to people on the street. So from my experience of being a small group with 9 lads in a room in 2016 to going out on this tour and speaking to all the friends and families of the guys that had attended the clubs and seeing what an impact it's had, not just on the lads at the club, but their whole families, their whole networks. It was absolutely amazing. I can't wait to do it again.
That's incredible. That sounds like, I think you've got it down to a T, that holistic approach, that you do something for everybody, and you've absolutely nailed it, that everybody's psychology is different. And I think for me and Danny, because we're into psychology, it's fantastic to hear, isn't it? Huge pat on the back, huge well done to everybody at Andy's Man Club, because for us who are interested in psychology and the background of it all, hearing that there's something out there that addresses absolutely everything, the psychological stuff, the physical stuff, the social stuff, everything I'm really excited for you. I really want to see you grow it next 5 years and go abroad and things like that, because I think it definitely could be such a massive success, because you've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the amount we've grown in just the last 6 months, we came out of lockdown with 28 clubs. And the club we're opening on Monday will be the 42nd club that we're opening. So in 6 months, we've gone from having 28 clubs, which we've built over 4 years, to having 42. And it absolutely blows me away. It really does. So I can only imagine where we're going to be in 6 months' time. It's now my full-time job to look at opening new clubs. And, I couldn't have found a better job. It's absolutely amazing, all of it.
Yeah. And I think that's probably something that people will notice sort of since all this happened with COVID and lockdown and things like that people are probably looking into new jobs or switching careers and things like that. And I suppose even if somebody just wanted to come to talk to you about that, that they're thinking about swapping careers and they've got some money worries and things, your doors are open.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's only 3 things that we don't talk about. Those are religion, politics and medication. For a number of reasons. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier, the lessons that we've learned over the years. But those are literally the only 3 things that we don't talk about. But anything else is on the table.
Those 3 things can be really divisive, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah.
Ollie, I'm hesitant to say that about positives of the pandemic, but I think sort of you and Hanna spoke about it earlier on. One thing that pandemic has done is it has genuinely allowed lots of people the time to reflect, hasn't it? And really deeply think. Now, for some people, that's not been a good thing. That's probably been, it certainly hasn't been a good thing for some people. But then for others, it really has made them think, hasn't it? And it's really made them, in lots of cases that I hear about, kind of anecdotally through my mates and through sort of people in my family and people that I work with and stuff, lots of them have started to go, you know what, I want to talk to someone. And it's been, as I think, I agree with you that I know you're much closer to it than I am, but I agree with you that in that 6 months after things open up, I think it'll explode. I think there'll be, yeah, and I look forward to hearing about it as well. And obviously with the one at the stadium and that kind of thing, it just sounds like, yeah, it sounds like there's a huge need for it. Well, there certainly is a huge need for it, but it sounds like you've got it down to an absolute T in terms of just regular guys, no structure. It's inclusive. It just sounds class. Sounds great.
Yeah, one of the things we've always enjoyed doing is just shouting from the rooftops about what we're doing, meeting people, having chats in the streets with people, putting stalls on and community events and those sorts of things. And those are all things that we've not been able to do for the last 12 months. So when the world opens up again, me and the guys here in the office, we're going to go hell for leather in banging that drum and telling people about all our successes, getting out into the street and actually communicating with people. It's okay relying on social media and that sort of thing, but, it relies on algorithms for people to actually see it on the feeds, and that you just can't beat speaking to people face-to-face, doing presentations face-to-face, and actually having those conversations one-on-one about what we're doing and how we're doing it.
The world itself has had a bit of a notable shift certainly in the last few years anyway. Like, mental health has existed always, really, but it's just, I don't know, in the past few years that it's actually something that people are talking about more openly or seeing that something needs to be done about. What do you think is, brought it to a head, really?
I don't know. I know that when we started Andy's Man Club, those conversations didn't happen. When you spoke about the stats around male suicide, nobody knew that information. And I think, I'm not saying that we brought it to the forefront, but there's definitely been more attention, with not just in local news, national news. Like when the Office of National Statistics released the trends for suicide in the last, I think it was 2019 was the last review that they did. It was, it was all over local news, definitely. I don't think it made the national news even then. But these were very worrying statistics about increases in male suicide across the board, but in particular male suicide, and it still didn't make the national news. So all we can do is keep going out and shouting about what we're doing and letting people know that not only is it okay to talk, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel those emotions and feelings. We're all human beings at the end of the day. We're all wired the same, and to expect a man to go through his life without showing any emotion, without showing what he's feeling on the inside, when you say it like that, it sounds ludicrous, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think everyone somewhere has either known someone, a man or someone that has been affected in this way. I mean, I don't mind saying myself, I lost my uncle to suicide, and that, that was years ago, and these kind of things weren't available for him then. I wish they were, because he might still be here today. Like, I think the clubs like this are really important in terms of actually giving people somewhere to go when they're feeling that low. But I think also I guess it's important as a parent, I see, to teach my son these lessons as well. He's only 5, but we as a family are going through a bereavement recently, and one of the main things I've been trying to teach him is actually it's okay to feel sad. Like, he doesn't need to pretend that he's not sad. And those lessons, or those parental lessons, didn't used to get taught before, because it used to be like, come on, classic English, stiff upper lip, let's carry on and stuff like that. But it's important, I think, to give everyone just that time to be allowed to feel sad. And I think it's important, from that young age to actually teach young boys that they don't need to hide their emotion, and it's all right to be sad, and it's all right to talk about being sad, and it's all right to cry if you want to. You don't have, if you fall over, you don't have to get up and pretend it didn't hurt. Like, you can be like and cry if you want to. I know you're a dad too, Ollie. Do you do the same thing?
Absolutely. And it sort of stems from my upbringing. My mum was a single mum. My dad was never around, so I never had that sort of male role model to tell me to man up or anything like that. My mum brought me up being quite open with my feelings and things like that. And that's definitely how I'm bringing up my kids. You know, that one of the I've talked about my vision already to have an Andy's Man Club within half an hour of everywhere in the UK, but I've also got a little dream in the back of my head where I don't want Andy's Man Club to have to exist at all. I want men to be having these conversations in the pub with the mates, in the workplace, at home with the family. I know that's a big ask. It's a massive cultural shift. And as a society, we're a long way off that point. But I hope to see it at some point in my lifetime. And until that point, we'll keep doing what we do as Andy's Man Club and provide that network and that support net for the guys that don't feel like they can do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we've just had hundreds and hundreds of years of conditioning that mental health is a taboo subject, and we're only just getting on that train now to say it's not a taboo subject. You know, we talk about physical health and we're promoting gyms and stuff like that. Why are we not promoting mental health and social health that obviously really contributes towards mental health? Like, I think it is a shift that has to happen. It is a cultural shift that has to happen, and we're taking baby steps, but we are getting there. And I think you guys are obviously quite proud that you're at the forefront. You're the pioneers for this.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, there's no other organisation in the UK that does this at a grassroots level. But the rate that we're growing as well, we're the fastest growing mental health charity in the UK at the moment. And it's just mind-blowing. I always refer back to that first session that I went to. And for me, I've seen the full journey, the full development of Andy's Man Club from there. And it always sends shivers down my spine just to think about how far we've come in the last 5 years and what we're going to be achieving in, you know, I can't even think about the next 5 years. Just the next, 6, 12, 18 months are going to be so exciting when the world opens back up again. This time last year, we had, 3 members of staff. We've now got 7 members of staff, all putting in, 40 hours a week and then some, all passionately driving the cause. They're all here because they've worked their way up from being a facilitator, or they've been to the group and needed help in the past themselves, or they've set up their own group. So they're all in it for the right reasons. They're all here because they're passionate about what they do. And having a team behind you that's so engaged with what they're doing and so driven, it just makes you want to absolutely reach for the stars.
Yeah, definitely. I think I watched Roman Kemp's new documentary, which you might have seen, but I've got mixed feelings, I think, about it, coming from sort of a health psychology point of view, but then also from a mental health point of view, just sort of mixed feelings. But I think the really powerful thing, or the powerful message that I got from it, was just that phrase of asking your mate, are they okay? And then asking them again, but are you really okay? So sort of from Andy's Man Club, what's your mantra? What's your sort of phrase? Is it that you sort of stick to that, or do you have a different way of asking if someone's okay?
I think you can ask 100 times, and if they're not willing to say, they're not willing to say. Our sort of tagline is "It's okay to talk," and we, like I said, we keep everything as simple as possible. And we provide lads the space to talk, but quite often lads will come down and for weeks at a time they won't say anything. They'll just sit and listen to everybody else in a room. And then one day, it might be 6 weeks after they first joined, they'll get to the core of why they've actually come down and start opening up and talking about it. On the other end of the scale, you've got people like me who, once they start talking, you just can't shut them up. And everyone falls into that line somewhere at some point, and that's all okay. There's guys that come down and are really nervous and don't want to engage, and that's absolutely fine. They can just sit and listen. It's just about letting them know that we're there when they need to, when they need us, when they're ready to talk. Everything will be okay.
I really like the bit on the website, Ollie, about the storm, and that everyone's either been through a storm, they're in the storm, or they're out of the storm. And I just thought that connects everyone together. I couldn't think of a better way of connecting everyone together, every man, irrespective of whether they have wealth, whether they have a family, whether they have a job, those kind of things don't necessarily guarantee that you've got sort of a positive mental health, is it? Those kind of things definitely don't guarantee those kind of things. And I thought that analogy, if you like, of everyone being in a storm or having been in a storm or out the storm, I just thought that connected it perfectly. I certainly read that and was like, wow, yeah, no, I get that, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andy's Man Club isn't just for men who've got a mental health condition. It's open for any man over the age of 18 who wants to come down, who wants to talk about things, get the stuff off the chest. They might not, like you said, they might not even still be in that storm. They might have got through that storm and just want to share that experience with somebody else, let people know how they managed to get from A to B. And in doing so, they can help other people along the way.
One question that we ask every single person that walks through the doors of the Lincolnshire Buzzcast, and that is...
I like how you got that in there, Lizzie. Lincolnshire, the Lincolnshire Buzzcast. You've had an emphasis on Lincolnshire because you've got 2 Yorkshire folk in here today.
That's why we haven't been on you so hard about Yorkshire, because you've got backup today, and me and Daniel are just a little bit concerned that we can't gang up.
Yorkshire is powerful.
If Yorkshire's so great, then why did you leave?
Well, you see, it's all downhill coming out of Yorkshire. It's a struggle to get back in once you leave.
Well saved.
You've got good tea, I'll give you that. You've got good tea.
There is a lot that's great about Yorkshire, but this is the Lincolnshire Buzzcast. So,
yeah, sorry, let's bring it back. Let's talk about sausages.
Yeah, I ain't seen no Yorkshire sausages around. So you're not famous for them, are you?
Also, the Minster pales in comparison to the cathedral, doesn't it? Cathedral tops the Minster easy.
I don't know if that's a brag. Is that a brag?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really that bothered about the cathedral, but not some other people seem to be. So if we're playing top trumps, then cathedral beats the Minster.
Yorkshire pudding, though. Yorkshire pudding.
I was just going to say, we've got the Yorkshire pudding, you've got the Lincolnshire sausages, they go hand in hand. Meant to be.
There's definitely a couple of Yorkshire ales as well, isn't there? Definitely a couple of Yorkshire ales.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
One or two. The size of my beer belly post-lockdown, it's not great. I could just swallow the whole egg.
Sorry, Lizzie, we completely cut you off.
Anyway, back to the question, which I for once in my guest sourcing lifetime have managed to pre-send out. So, Ollie, if you were to invite any guest, alive or dead, to a dinner party, which 3 guests would you invite and why?
The first one would probably be my granddad. I never met my granddad. He died in 1980, so 8 years before I was born. But the stories that my mum's told me about him and the journey that he went through, I'd absolutely love to sit down and have a chat with him about that. The second one would be Bruce Lee, because he was not only an amazing martial artist, he was also a very level-headed philosopher, a very wise man. And also, if any burglars came during the dinner party, it could definitely fend them off.
Are you often burgled mid-dinner party?
He's from Yorkshire.
Is it because Yorkshire, In Lincolnshire, our dinner parties tend to be safe.
That's because all the houses are about 6 miles apart.
Yeah, they'll be knackered by the time they get to us.
And the third one, Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls, wow. Have you watched the documentary, Ollie? Have you watched the documentary? It was on Netflix.
I have, yeah, and I'd quite like to ask him what happened on that fateful night and what really went on with Death Row Records.
Quite the range of people.
Wow.
Bruce Lee and Biggie Smalls that's an incredible mix already.
What on earth would you serve that dinner party? Yorkshire pudding.
Yorkshire pudding and Lincolnshire sausages.
Yeah.
Tell him the old. That's what he got. You know, tell him the old.
That meal just brings our two counties together, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Does anyone know where it originated from? Did it originate in one of the two?
Toad in the Hole was probably Yorkshire, isn't it? Because the pudding. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Lincolnshire sausage, does it? But it has to be a Yorkshire pudding.
I reckon it probably came from Derbyshire, and they were just trying to collaborate the two and create something of their own.
Trying to muscle in.
Yeah, trying to steal it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having that.
Yeah.
That does sound very Derbyshire, to be fair, doesn't it?
I refer to South Yorkshire as North Derbyshire because there's nothing south about Yorkshire at all.
No, exactly. Although I did used to live in South Yorkshire, only slightly, only for a little period of time. I am originally from West Yorkshire. It's fine.
I've got a lot of friends in South Yorkshire who will probably be not very happy that I've said that, but
I'll make sure that stays in then.
Play on loop. Just repeat that. The beginning and the end of the podcast.
Absolutely. Well, before you go, we always give our guests a chance to promote whatever they want to promote. So over to you, Ollie.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to attend Andy's Man Club, or if you want any more information about Andy's Man Club, just drop us an email, info@andysmanclub.co.uk, or you can have a look on our website, Facebook page, YouTube channel. There's loads of stuff out there. But what I would say to anybody who's wanting to join is go ahead and do it. If you want to attend Andy's Man Club for whatever reason, take that step. It'll be one of the best things that you've done, and the welcoming that you'll get from the brotherhood, it'll be one like you've never received before.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ollie.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. I hope you all found that interesting. There is going to be an Andy's Man Club set up at the LNER Stadium. If you want to find out more information about that, please visit our website. The link will be in the podcast description.